Hello, I'm Incarnate, bringing you all the latest indie gaming goodness. Today we're looking at a game called Freeholder. This game is by Rogueware and is a turn-based strategy game. The most similar comparison I can draw from this game is the Sid Meier's Civilization series. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of that series. It's very popular and a very good game. This game adds a bit of a survival twist in that in addition to owning a hex on the map or a plot of land and expanding it. In addition to that, you also have to manage your characters or your group's hunger, their well-being. They can get sick. They can catch illnesses and so forth. They can also suffer damage in battle. You've got to manage your raw resources in terms of money and also crafting material, hides, firewood, and also building materials like raw wood. And also you have the temperature to think of. So there is a winter period of the game where without the right amount of firewood to keep you warm, you'll actually die from the cold. So I'm going to get into the game and show you a little bit more, but before we do, you'll notice that there is no sound. Now I haven't turned the sound off. The sound doesn't loop. So the sound plays for around 4 minutes, and in that 4 minutes it's actually very, very loud, and there's no way to change the volume. So all I did was wait the sound out, and then now we can go to each of the menus and not have to worry about the sound. Unfortunately, there is no way to alter it, and this is a problem in a lot of indie games, and this one included. The problem also continues into the game itself, so once we start the game, the music will begin again. But thankfully, once we're in the game, we can actually alter the sound. Now, normally I would go in and have a look at the options menu, but there isn't any real options in this game. Not that there really needs to be. It's a very simplistic game in terms of graphical detail, that is. So it would be nice if there was an option to change the sound from the main menu, though. The only options you can see here are the high scores menu and your credits for the developers' names and so forth. Let's get into the game and I'll explain a little bit more about how the game works. And here we are in the game. The first thing you'll notice is that we have an RPG style interface here. There are RPG elements in this game, so we'll start off with a character name. We're able to choose a gender, and finally our character class. The classes in the game go: the gardener, who is a talented farmer, the ranger, who can attack from a distance and also hunt game, the agent, who acts as an assassin or rogue style class. They can infiltrate towns to get information and resources. The warrior, who can act as a mercenary and can also attack bandits for money. The initiate, who is a hedge mage, who can basically cast spells and perform alchemy to help the group. The artisan, who can create works of art from materials they find in the environment. The rancher, who can breed livestock, but my favourite is the gardener. Given that you have to keep finding food and that part of the game is getting wheat for the Roman government, this makes this one a no-brainer. Now, each of the classes have a passive skill. In the case of the gardener, it's a soil reading skill. We can see the nutrient level of the soil. You also have a number of skills that you can choose from. Some are more useful than others. In the case of the gardener, the speed reaper skill is my favourite. They're able to reap or harvest a crop for half the cost of what it usually costs. So 1 action point as opposed to 2. Because you're doing so much farming, this is a no-brainer for a skill. Here we have the story of the game. As I mentioned before, you are a number of escaped slaves. You've been found out by a census taker for the Roman government that you are on a farm, and the farm obviously you have not obtained by legal means. You're a desperate group of ex-slaves, and you basically are just trying to make ends meet and also pay this guy his cut so that he doesn't dob you into the Roman government. You have the levy, or the tax that you had to pay to the Roman government, and you also have the bribe that you need to keep this guy happy. And the bribe keeps going up every year. We'll get into that a little bit later. Now here's where the similarity to civilization begins. We have a number of random tiles. You'll end up with farmland tiles where you can grow crops, forests where you can gather wood or can hunt game, meadows where you can keep your herd animals, marshes where you can gather resources like clay or reeds and also fish, and mountains where you can also hunt for game. You also can find stone in the mountains. Around these tiles you have terra incognita. These are unknown tiles which you need to explore to work out what exists in them, and in some of these tiles you'll have some very useful resources. Let's start by planting some crops. As you can see, we need to have 16 units of wheat for the Roman Empire. We're going to sow some summer wheat because we've started in the dry months. Now, at the start of each turn, you will have a summary of what's happening in the world in the bottom left-hand corner. You can see here that it's going to be a dry year. This means that our crops may die from the heat. We need to keep watering those crops. Now we have our three characters here. My main character and also these two farmhands, Lydia and Caius. Depending on what action they take the most, that is what profession they will level up into. I tend to make Caius my hunter character because he can gather food, and Lydia my either artisan or farmer character so that he can assist with farming and also sell some art for a bit of money. We're going to start off by finding some food, hopefully. We're going to hunt the forest. And we were lucky, we found two great meat. These are large meats, and this will keep us all fed. Now each of these tiles has a number of actions you can take depending on the type of tile. And as you play the game you'll actually learn this. But the best way to do is just to click on the tile and you'll have these options. Go in and see what you can actually do. Now another thing we need to do that I'm sure if you played Project Zomboid you'll understand is prepare for winter. Preparing for winter involves gathering firewood. So we're going to do that now. When you've searched some land, or terra incognita, the land will be dark, and you claim that land like this. Now depending on the type of land that you've claimed, if the land is farmable, then that means that even if it's a forest, technically you could burn the forest down and farm, then the Roman government will raise the tax. This makes your decision about what to do very strategic. You don't want to claim every single piece of land because it will drive up the tax to the point where you can't keep up. So, for example, marshes and mountains don't allow you to grow crops, so they're fair game, and you should always claim those because you can get some useful resources and it costs you nothing to have them. Now that we've used up all of our skill points, we're going to end our turn. And here we have a summary of our character's health. We need to feed our characters and decide if they need a herb. Now herbs are pretty hard to find, and I tend to not use them unless our character's in dire need. But you're able to select a type of meal that they have. Hearty meal will allow them to have a health boost upon eating for the next turn. Normal meal will just keep their health the same level but keep them fed. A meager meal will lower the character's health because they're not eating enough to stay alive. And starvation, well, self-explanatory. They may die, and it's not something you should use unless you're really desperate and have no choice. Because we found that great meat, you can see here that it's got lots and lots of nutrition. We are able to give each of our characters a hearty meal. Now, in the case of the winter, you would also need to supply firewood, and that's why I was gathering the firewood before. You always want to try and make sure you've got at least 20 to 30 units of firewood, because in a blizzard, you'll end up burning through twice as much wood. Let's confirm that. Now, you can see that each of the characters' health is now increased. And we now perform our next set of actions. Now that we've watered the plants, the next thing we're going to do is go to the town. So this is a blown up view of the map. Here's our villa and the surrounding area. Here's the three main towns in the game: Septum, Harrenhal and Astoria. There's the black market, which can be interacted on except with the risk of being arrested. And the tavern, which is where you can find mercenaries. So if you want to be a more combat style character, you're able to hire some mercenaries and have them assist you. You always want to check out the market at the start of each game, or each year. Shipping goods doesn't actually cost you anything unless you confirm it. And you can see here that there are three things that we can do for them. Now, these are special orders from each of the three towns I mentioned. Completing the order as requested will give you a large money boost and also increase your reputation with that town. And then the town will give you free stuff, will give you a discount on goods, and will be more inclined to assist you in general. Now, in the case of this here, we can't actually sell anything of value to the market, and you always want to try and prioritize these special orders over everything else. We can haul some scree, which is basically rubble. So we're going to do that because we're going to get 1 denarii upon completion. We earned a little bit of money there, and we also got a little bit of husbandry, animal husbandry XP. Now we're going to have our hunter character hunt again. And he was successful. He got a little bit of food, which is fantastic. We can now use our remaining turns to gather some firewood. Gathering firewood again is very important. Winter is coming, and without the right amount of firewood, we will all freeze to death. You can see we've got now 21 units of firewood. That's probably not as much as I'd like, but it should keep us through at least 3 or 4 days of winter. We're now going to end our second turn. Now, what I like about this game, the first thing I like is the simple interface of the game. This game is very reminiscent of an old Nintendo style game, complete with 8-bit graphics and soundtrack, MIDI style soundtrack. But it's still a very effective game. You still will find yourself very addictive. And that's the other thing I like about this game, is that it is a very addictive style of game. The game is very hard, and you will wipe quite a lot. I've been playing this for about 12 hours, so I have a bit of an idea of what you need to do to survive in the game. But you will die a lot, and each time you die you'll learn a little bit more. So there is a little bit of a addiction style of gameplay where you want to keep trying one more time. I really like what they've done with mixing survival style game with a turn-based strategy game. And this is, if you have played Civilization or any of those style of games, your turn-based strategy games, you will love this game. and especially if you also like your retro style Nintendo games, because this game it has that retro style in spades. What do I not like about this game? And this is where it gets hard, because I have to preface this by saying I really enjoyed my experience playing this game. But the main problem with this is simply the difficulty. This game is hard to learn. You will starve. You will end up with bad luck. Occasionally you'll just end up not being able to find food, and your characters may end up starving. But the problem isn't with that. The difficulty is with this bribe. Now, the bribe is what you have to pay the corrupt census taker. And the problem is that the bribe becomes more and more ridiculous each time, to the point where you, at later stages, you are unable to meet the bribe, and that's pretty much what now kills me every time. I could meet the bribe, because each year that it goes on, it will go up, and eventually you're looking at around a 16 to 20 denarii each year. We're currently paying 2. So unfortunately, yeah, the problem is that they need to alter the difficulty. Now, the other problem is that with this tax value here, because this tax value prevents us from claiming too much arable land, and if you end up losing a crop, you're done and dusted, basically. So I think too that there is the problem with the farming tiles. It takes too long for the earth to become arable again, and eventually you will farm this land to the point where the land will not be able to provide anything for you. So yeah, they're an example of the difficulty of this game, and really that's my only gripe with the game. I have been playing this game for around 12 hours. I have attempted this game about 20 to 30 times, and I've tried to get around this bribe to see if I can play the game long term, but I've never managed to make it beyond the 4th year. That's when this game, it just gets too hard. And I understand this is a survival, it's a rogue type game, and in roguelikes you do die a lot, but it just seems that I've hit a brick wall with this and I can't really get any further, which is a shame. I think that to solve this particular problem, they could easily implement a cap on the bribe, a more realistic cap. Maybe add some difficulty levels to the game, but that would increase the enjoyment of the game, and also cut down on the amount of times that people are restarting this game. I've restarted this game probably 30 or 40 times already, and it can get a little bit tedious having to restart all the time. And as you can see, once you get about 3 or 4 years in, depending on your luck, you'll often end up burning through all your resources, selling everything you own just to be able to pay this bribe. So I would be very interested to see if anyone's actually managed to survive longer than that, and whether it's even possible to survive beyond 3 or 4 years. I've tried, and it's not easy at all. So in terms of replay value, there is a lot of replay value in this game because of the addictive nature of it. You'll want to keep trying to get a bit further, but like myself, you'll probably end up finding out that you can't get beyond a few years because of the difficulty of the game, because of the need for that bribe. I really want them to fix that, because I really enjoyed this game. Now, finally is value for money, and this game is retailing for around $9.99 on Steam, so around $10. And for a game of this type, I heartily enjoyed it, and I must recommend it to people. But I only recommend it if you are a fan of roguelike games, and if you understand that you will die in this game a little bit, and it will take you quite a lot of time to get up to speed. And that's just the luck of the draw. Unfortunately, you're going to end up dying quite a lot, and you're going to end up having to learn through dying. And unfortunately, in a game which is turn-based, where one particular game of this can take you 2 or 3 hours, that can become pretty frustrating. So yeah, all in all, I recommend this game. I give it a score of 7 out of 10. It's a good game, but I think that you should only play it or if you know what you're getting in for. This isn't Civilization. This isn't a game where you can play it for 50 or 60 hours, build up a massive civilization, build up lots of resources. You're going to play it, you're going to get a little bit further in, you're going to die, you're going to start again. So that's the main difference between this and Civilization. If you're not into roguelike games, and you want to play a turn-based game, I'd probably suggest you pass this up and maybe play Civilization, maybe Civ 4. That game retails for about $20, and it's a little bit more expensive than this, but you are going to play a strategy game where you can alter the difficulty dynamically. So that's it. I did enjoy this game, and I hope that if the developer sees this, it is constructive criticism. I only say this because I really enjoyed this game, and I wanted to keep going. I wanted to actually play through to maybe not end game, but get 10 years in, get a really big radius around my base, explore all of the extra tiles, see what happens. That's why I like the Civilization games, and unfortunately this game, while it has the depth and the challenge, it eventually becomes impossible to keep going. So yeah, hopefully they actually do change that, or give us the option to change that ourselves, because I think that's the only thing keeping this game back from me giving it an even higher score. So if you like this video, please subscribe, and we should hopefully see you for the next review. Incarnate out.